I could give you a dozen reasons why I love to emulate my favorite Wii U games, but the thing I miss most about the Wii U was the gamepad's unique playstyle. And despite taking care of my Wii U, I know it won't last forever. So how can I replicate this controller and preserve its legacy for future generations? Honestly, I didn't realize how comparable these screen sizes were until I filmed this. Not only is it really hard to use a Wii U gamepad on a PC, but it's also just straight up, to my knowledge, impossible to use it with the display. So this limits our options to literally any other controller. I'll be using my DualSense controller with a phone grip that only cost me $15. Yeah, you could get a backbone to emulate the Wii U gamepad feel, but that thing is an overpriced piece of... So here's what you need to get started. First, you need a good old PC. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you have a Wii U emulator installed. Next, you need 2 video displays. This can either be across 2 separate monitors or 1 monitor with 2 inputs. And last but not least, you need a smart device with the Steam Link app installed. This is how it normally goes. You got a game running on your emulator, and you have a second window displaying the gamepad, doing whatever the gamepad does. But we don't want to share screen real estate, so we'll bring in a second monitor designated just for the gamepad display. Much better. But we're going to take this a step further and stream this screen to our mobile device. And in conjunction with a controller, we've just replicated the Wii U touchscreen. Here's a few brief setup instructions. So, open the Steam Link app on your phone, and the first time you're probably going to have to pair up to your PC, maybe even link your Steam account. And once that's all said and done, you should see this screen. Now there's one thing we got to do in settings, and just follow along here with the visual guide while I explain why we're doing this. So every time you connect to your PC, it starts up Big Picture mode. Now I personally don't like Big Picture mode in general, but this method only works in desktop mode. So just switch this setting here so you don't have to close out of Big Picture mode every time you connect to your PC. Now, this is what you should see on your phone when you connect to your PC. I know this looks a little overwhelming, so click this mouse icon to change your settings. Basically, you should just match what I have here. It's going to clean up your visual experience by removing all those buttons, and now you should be able to just drag the window with your finger or your mouse. And let me show you how to separate the gamepad display into a new window. In the emulator, go to the Options tab. You have to click on Separate Gamepad View, so that opens a new window with the gamepad display like I showed earlier. Now let me show you something else you can do. Go back to the Options tab, and then click General Settings. Then go to the Audio tab. Your screen should look something like this. Now this is completely optional, but if you want the gamepad sounds to be projected through your phone speakers, click on the drop down here and select Speakers, Steam Streaming Speakers in parentheses. The one at the bottom is actually Steam Streaming Microphone, so if the first one doesn't work, just try the other one. Speaking of microphone, this is even more optional. If you want to utilize the Wii U's microphone capabilities, you can actually use your phone's microphone via the Steam Link app. You just have to enable it in the app settings. Now let's zoom back out. As you can see here, I've got my TV and my monitor both hooked up to my PC, extending my displays. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag the gamepad window to the second monitor and then maximize the screen. And you might have noticed there, my phone switched to whichever screen my mouse was on. That's important to keep track of so your phone's always displaying the right screen, but it's also really easy to fix if something goes wrong. Here you see I switched to the main monitor for a second to put the gameplay into full screen, but then I forget to switch back to the gamepad until halfway through the race. Oh, and let me demonstrate the gamepad speakers too. And just to show you, this does actually work on one monitor with 2 inputs. So right now I have this one with the emulator, and then if I switch, same monitor, but now we have the gamepad screen. And I got my phone down here. You can see this is the emulator, and then this is the current window that I'm on. So if I switch back to this, now we have both screens just like we did on the big TV. Alright, let's switch over to the game that prompted me to do all this stuff in the first place. I didn't show you this before, but since the gamepad window isn't in true borderless full screen, you have to pinch zoom the screen to fit just right. Or perhaps you could find some sort of workaround that removes the border, but I wasn't able to look into that. Once you've found the perfect zoom distance, go back into the menu and you can lock it in that position by disabling pinch zoom. And from my experience, this will actually stay at this zoom forever. Now I can show you another cool feature about this app. Let's say we want to name a new save file. If you press the keyboard button in the top right, it brings up your phone's keyboard, and you can type on it just like you could on the Wii U. Now for some reason I was having trouble the first time around, but basically I just backed out of it and then redid it, and then it worked just fine. So I guess that's a little finicky for right now. So now I can show you how this works in-game. And bear with me because this was really hard to record, but it works great. You hold your finger, you drag it across the screen, and it just works. And since we're emulating a Wii U gamepad, we can actually use gyro aim too, which I think is really cool. You wouldn't be able to do this if you were using the Wii U Pro Controller settings, because for some reason the Pro Controller didn't have gyro aim. So even if your physical controller has a gyroscope, it won't work unless you're emulating the Wii U gamepad specifically. Here I'll just demonstrate a little more gameplay with the touchscreen. And you might notice that the widgets on the app are moved to the sidebar now. All you gotta do is just drag them across the screen to move them out of the way. And while I was syncing these video clips up, I actually found out that the gamepad screen is 2 frames faster than the TV screen, which I find interesting. Oh, and one more thing worth mentioning. I don't know if there's any way to hide the mouse cursor in the Steam Link app, but it didn't really bother me while I was playing, especially since it only shows up on the gamepad screen. I thought this feature was pretty cool. I don't think I ever used it when I played this on the Wii U. In this moment I felt like I was playing a 3DS game and trying to experience that glasses-free 3D for the first time. You might say this setup is a little bit excessive. It does take up quite a bit of power, considering that you're draining your phone's battery and also using a second monitor. But one thing that's worth experimenting is disabling your monitor's picture without actually turning it off. So for example, when I turned off my monitor, the computer stopped detecting it as a screen. But when I switched to the second input that wasn't being used, it wouldn't display anything, but it was still being registered as another screen. And some other things that are worth experimenting are using wireless monitors. I don't really know how they work, I didn't want to get into that, but in theory they should work similarly to this. And I think it would be really cool if you could use either a Steam Deck or maybe some kind of homebrewed PlayStation Portal controller with this method. And I don't see why this wouldn't work on a 3DS emulator either. I'm going to leave a pinned comment where you can ask me questions since I feel confident enough that I'll be able to answer them. And if you do any experimenting, make sure to leave your findings in the comments as well so people can see what works and what doesn't. I hope this video wasn't too difficult to follow along. I promise you it's a lot easier than you might think. In fact, I genuinely found it more difficult to film and edit this video than it was to initially set this up. I felt obligated to make this tutorial because I wasn't able to find one myself, and I felt that this really enhanced my experience of playing on an emulator, so I hope it does for you too.